Hey everyone, welcome to the Rock Shop with Ralph, your source for all things entertainment. Tonight we have, I don't know, what are we going to call it? The sixes, sevens, and nines edition?
Six
Sure.
plus nine
Yeah, yeah,
plus
yeah.
tax.
We have
11.
drummer Pat Muzingo and guitarist Tim Mosher from the band Junkyard. Yes.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
We're
Good. How you doing,
good.
man?
Doing
Awesome.
well.
I'm so glad to have you guys on the show. I've been a fan since um, 89 when the debut album came out. That was one band that, you know, got mixed in towards the end of the, we're going to say, hair metal era and
Yeah.
going into grunge. But that you guys were one band. When I heard you, I'm like, wow, you guys were like a breath of fresh air because your sound was different. It wasn't the big hair and the power ballads and all that shit. Um, but yeah, I gotta say, I've been a fan since '89. So we're gonna talk about the debut album and the other albums that you had in between, up until the new single that you're gonna be releasing. But first off, thank you for being on the show. And
Thanks
how
for
are you
having us.
guys? Pat, where are you?
I'm in Santa Monica. I'm about 2 miles that way is the beach. So, or the pier or
Ah,
whatever, So I never go there. Stay
and,
away.
and Tim, where are you?
I'm in the lovely San Fernando Valley, Tarzana to
Oh,
be specific.
you
So
guys, you guys are all in. You guys are both in California.
yeah, we're all the band is everyone is now in Cali. David, the singer, is up north a bit, close to Santa Barbara, and the rest of us are scattered throughout the LA area. Todd, the bass player, is actually the only person who still lives in Hollywood.
And I'm
In
gonna go
West
through.
Hollywood.
I'm gonna go through the band, but that's Todd Muscat,
Todd
Yeah.
Muscat on
who
bass.
most
Yeah.
people know that name as Brett Muscat from Faster Pussycat. That's his brother.
Yes, that's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Todd, Brent is his little brother. That is
Yes.
correct. Yeah.
And you got Dave Roach, the singer, original.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Jimmy James, Pat Mazingo, the gentleman
Yep.
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Tom Muscat, and the gentleman on the bottom, Tim Mosher.
That's
Yep.
me.
And Pat,
That's the lineup.
you're like you and Dave are the longest tenured, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Technically I'm the second drummer from the band, but I mean
Yeah.
that
Was
goes
it
back.
Johnny
That
Hell
goes
was the first one?
Yeah, Johnny was great. I mean, Johnny was like, it was like watching Hendrix play drums. And unfortunately, that didn't quite work out for the kind of stuff that they were doing. Because when I got in the band, it was heavy Southern type of stuff.
Yeah.
And this is way before, I mean, when I got in the band, we were doing covers and we had like maybe 5 originals. So they wanted to get somebody that knew how to swing more than be psychedelic on the drum. So I came in and took over, and the rest is, history.
Right. So what? I mean, your influences are like what as a drummer? Who do you influence?
My stuff is I like, I dig on old jazz guys, but mainly it's old punk guys, like Chuck Biscuits, God, his brother, Rat Scabies, and then you go into the various Clash drummers. It's all old punk rock, but like lately I've been listening to a lot of like funk drummers, and it's just I don't even know their names. I'm just like going from
Yeah.
one random thing to the
I
other.
got the general idea. You lean
Yeah.
more towards the punk end, and it's
Oh, yeah.
funny because, I mean, they were, and Dave talked about this in past interviews, and he seemed to be frustrated about it. Like you're a band that has one sound, then you get signed, then they try to manufacture you into being something else. I've read and I've seen and interviews and I've heard him say, they want you to be, and you guys were compared to Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
I guess
yeah.
that was because you were, and I can't see anything that you have in common with Guns N' Roses. You know,
They were from the street.
Same
and
label.
Actually, and the same label, but technically they were from the streets of West Hollywood, but we were from the gutter of East Hollywood. So which is fucking more a little
Right.
more. Our friends were their friends were drug dealers. Our friends were the guys who supplied the drugs to the drug dealers.
There you go.
So they were we
They
cut
were
out
the
the
rich. You
middleman.
guys had the richer drug dealers,
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had the source. Fuck it.
the wholesalers.
Yeah, exactly.
You're paying 50.
Who also happened to be like bartenders at bars that we would go
Of
to
course,
in East Hollywood, because that's where you live.
Listen, I
And
grew
it
up in
was
the
cheap.
'80s too. Any bar
Yep.
you walked into, you can get anything you wanted.
Exactly.
You know how it is.
That's
So
true.
Tim, you're the newbie basically out of both of you,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Newbie at what 25 years,
right? Yeah.
Very.
Well,
Yeah.
when you're talking about a 32-year career and he's into
Yeah.
25, he's
Yeah.
the newbie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of we crossed paths in those days very early. I think probably the
Yeah.
first guys I met when I arrived in Hollywood in '86, where I started hanging out was David and the other guitar player Chris, and we all lived in each other's pockets back then, and all the bands played with each other, and it was we did gigs together all the time. With my previous band that ended up getting a record deal not long after Junkyard, probably 6 or 8 months, maybe a year later, we used to open for Junkyard, and that's probably why we got popular. But we were all roommates. Brian Baker was my roommate for a long time. He's from my hometown. I mean, it was all very
Right. You guys
very
mismatched.
yeah. You just were kind of around each other all the time, and then so I was always there. We were always hanging out. We'd
Right.
go to the
Now-
same clubs the same night, and we would do everything. And then eventually, I kind of got brought in a bit after I got dropped. They still had a deal, and we're working on what became the third record. And it was always kind of. And then I was the songwriter in the other band, and that's when I kind of came in and started writing with the band principally. And so I wrote a lot of stuff, or parts of a lot of stuff that was going to be on this third record. And that's when I started my involvement became more day to day, I guess we'd call it. But then that all went to shit. And Pat and I went off and did another band and actually got another record deal. So,
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I am the new guy.
Yes, and I'm going to talk about that third record. That
New
third
guy
record,
as of like 1992, though.
Yeah, that third record was released as the last record you did, Old Habits Die Hard, which is like, we're going to talk about that. I'm jumping ahead, but I like that. That was like Junkyard 92, and it's funny, you even did the video like it was 1992.
Yeah, well, we live in the past.
Yeah. So let's get back to the basics. You guys, when you started out, like you mentioned, everybody knew each other from different bands and stuff. What were some of the bands that you guys like just hung out with, knew it, played with, back on the sleazy days of, let's say, the Sunset Strip or wherever you guys played? I guess you played Gazzarri's and the Whiskey and all that stuff. You played over there?
No, never did. Nope.
Really?
So basically from probably 87 until we got signed, and even after we got signed in LA, we basically played in the East Hollywood area. The furthest west we got on Sunset was a place called the Coconut Teaser, and that's about it. We did one show. We did a showcase show with somebody for a favor at the Roxy, but it was a show that was not advertised. But that was in '89, so that's technically the only time we ever played the Sunset Strip. But it was mostly we went east of Crescent Heights.
And you did mention that before too. I'm sorry, you said that they were from
they're from West Hollywood.
West Hollywood Sunset Strip. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, there was. The reality was that we were also broke that we couldn't do pay to play shows. You know what I mean? You had to buy tickets and things like that to sell to people. It just wasn't feasible, and there was so much burbling up underneath these clubs that were on weird nights of the week. Like Mondays was a big night in Hollywood then, believe it or not. And they would only be, and they would move, and they'd be one place one night and one place another night. And that's where most of the scene really came up. This club Scream was really probably the most influential, but there was also Raji's. And you'd be on bills with Pat can attest to this. I mean, Guns N' Roses came out of that scene too, and so did LA Guns and so did Fast Pussycat. But when we started coming up, those bands had gotten signed. It started to get out and tour a bit. So they weren't around as much. So the field was a little bit left open. So Junkyard kind of rose up pretty quick and started to get popular. But there was other kinds of bands too. It wasn't just rock bands. It was gothy bands and glamier bands. And then kind of there was like all kinds of different stuff. So I remember very distinctly getting there and seeing, a bill that would have Jet Boy and then X and then then Jane's Addiction and then the headliner would be X. Like that was very common. So there was a lot of cross-pollination of different kinds of bands. You'd be on with a rockabilly band or like that kind of psychobilly, what they call it, psychobilly. Now, it wasn't called
Jet Boy, Mickey Finn.
Yeah.
Feel the Shake. Remember him? Whatever happened to him?
He's around.
Yeah, they're still around.
Still around?
Yeah, Billy's the guitar player is now in Buck Cherry, but they still play every now and again. We've
they still play
recently. Yeah, so
that was.
It was really so those are the bands we played with. I mean, I opened for Junkyard. It would be Johnny Crash. It'd be later on Baby Rhino Bucket. Help me out here, Pat. Jet Boy. Those
There
were
would be
good
weird
games.
lineups. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, say when Faster first came out, you'd have a weird lineup where it would be Faster, Pussycat, and Love and Rockets. It was like, what the, wait,
So
but then
Alive. Remember that
it
song?
was
So Alive?
really,
Yeah.
and I attest a lot of that to the bookers of the Scream, as well as the people that the booking people at Golden Voice, because they just took everybody. Like, you know, it would be you'd have a Johnny Thunder show, you'd have 3 nights, and you'd have Guns N' Roses opening one night, Jet Boy opening one night, and then some random weird band that's part of, I think it was like Friends of Thelonious Monster. It made no sense, but looking back, it does, because that's where we all kind of like started honing our craft.
Right. Well, here's what I want to ask you, because Junkyard has been labeled as the Southern rock style band, whether you like it or you don't like it. They were labeled that.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys started out, obviously you guys had a lot of punk influences. And you can hear that in the first record, and then they started going towards the slide guitar and the Southern style rock. Was that manufactured by the record company? Did they tell you you have to sound this way, or you guys just started doing that yourself?
It was
Because I want to mention the producer you guys had as well.
Well, Tom was
Werman.
great during that. Yeah, he brought a lot of ideas to the table, and we kind of just played what we played. We did have we with Chris, you know, writing a bulk of the material. Chris Gates, I mean, that's where his influences and our influences at the time were Skinner, ZZ Top, but we were also throwing the punk stuff in,
right?
Our punk attitude in. So that's where that kind of melded. And honestly, the Southern thing, there's only a few songs on the first record that are Southern-ish.
Yeah.
You know, Hands Off, Simple Man. You know what I mean?
Right.
The
I
rest
got to
of
tell
it's
you,
pretty
I mean,
punk.
to this day, I still listen to the record. I mean, Blues is one of my favorite songs ever. I mean, it's like one of my go-to songs when I'm driving down and I'm in traffic and I'm just getting so frustrated. I put that on and it takes me back to 1989, you know? But here's what I want to ask you about that album. Yeah, it's the truth though. You know, you get a producer like Tom Werman, and let's just say your influences, and I'm trying to figure this out. Tom Werman did, you know, he did Poison, Open Up and Say Ah. He did Twisted Sister. He did Motley Crue, you know, and then he's doing Junkyard. And then I'm not saying you guys were a Southern sounding style band, but that's what the record company was trying to push you as, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And also, I mean, you mentioned those things. When we heard the name Tom Werman, the only two things that we didn't think of those acts. We thought of Cheap Trick and we thought of Ted Nugent. We're like, okay, done. You know, it's like, you know, geez.
You didn't think of the multi-platinum albums that he worked on.
The label did. The label
honestly
did.
Right?
Yeah, the label was like that, and we were like, Tom, that fucking Motley Crue album is really tinny. He's like, yeah, you know, yeah.
There you go. Let's go. There. I mean, you know, you got a mountain. It's like fucking Scarface, you know.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm 51. I grew up in the 80s too. I know, and I'm a musician as well. But and also the two engineers you had on there were Dwayne Barron and John Purdell, who became producers in their own right. Very, very
really good producers.
Awesome. They did Ozzy Osbourne's No More Tears. They did. They actually worked with Poison, but you know, so you had some good big names that worked with you on that album.
And those guys, I mean, Dwayne, Tom, what was it? Tom Carlisle also sang backups with John Purdell on that. Who I think they went on to write True Colors or something, the Cyndi Lauper song or something.
Yes.
But so. Yeah. So, I mean, it was great having those guys, because for us, it was like you just let a punk rock band loose with a semi-unlimited budget. Even though they weren't giving us money personally, they would cover our expenses. And it was nice of them. It was a nice introductory thing into the big league, so to say. But they also taught us how to cut corners, and we learned a lot, you know, business-wise from them, as well as production-wise, on what we did want to sound like and not sound like now.
Right. So now you got, and I'm going to get to you, Tim, I promise. I didn't forget you. You know, you got the single Hollywood, which was a hit, you know, and then, you know, Simple Man, which is another hit. And then, you know, Blues is a hit in the fan base, because that song, I tell you, was one of my favorites. But, you know, you guys think you're rolling, right? You guys are firing all cylinders. What bands did you tour with at that time?
Dangerous Toys.
You know what? And you played with him with Broken Teeth too, right?
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
fucking
God,
awesome singer, Jason
Broken
McNiff. I
Teeth is
love him.
an amazing band. Honestly, back in that first tour, we went out by ourselves. A lot of bands passed on us. We were up for a lot of tours, and we never got those big tours. We only did a big headlining tour in 1991 with Skinner, and that was it. You know, the
Southern
rest
Rock?
of it. Yeah, right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Simple. We didn't play Simple Man during that tour, but
Right, because they played the Simple Man.
for
They played
obvious
this.
reasons.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be in bad taste. But
So then I got you. The album's a hit, and then you know what? I must have did 40 interviews this past year, and 30 of them I always bring this up. And then grunge hit.
And thank God it did. I got to tell you, I'll be the first one, or I'll be the guy to say
and
it.
Tim is laughing on the bottom. Tell me why, Pat. Why, thank God.
Oh, we know. I mean, grunge didn't kill the hair metal scene. I mean, it was record
Hair
labels
metal
that
killed the
came
hair metal
in.
scene.
It was the labels and hair metal. I mean, it was just one endless cycle
Cookie
of
cutters.
the same band. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it killed itself. And then I was happy when grunge came in, or to me, I used to call it alternative music, alternative rock, or whatever. Because these were friends of ours. We had friends in Soundgarden. We had friends that were in Mother Love Bone, that went on to be, Pearl Jam or whatever those guys are called. But we were happy for them. I mean, are you kidding? And the music was way true, and it needed to happen. So, I mean, there's a lot of acts that say, yeah, y'all killed, Nirvana killed our career. It's like, well, you may want to think about that twice.
Yeah. So here's what I want to say about the second album. 6s, 7s, and 9s. Ed Stasium produced it, who did the Stones in Living Color. He did. I noticed on that single, All the Time in the World, you guys were getting a little bit soft there. It wasn't the Junkyard that you had in the first album. So the record, you guys, I mean, you had to. I understand it. The record company saying, "Listen, this is what we want. We want this radio friendly single." And you guys are sitting on the couch. And you guys are all laid back. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is Junkyard? When they had in the video Hollywood where the guitarist flips over the other guitarist's back? What the hell's going on there?
And then the next video comes out and it's like, hey, we're playing and there's a big 8-ball and there's a stripper or a showgirl and there's a Playboy girl in a martini glass. It's like, what the fuck?
Now I believe you when you say, thank God grunge came.
Yeah. God.
And then it was all over after that. Not all over, but you know what I mean. Then you got dropped by the record company. Grunge came. We know the story. Blah, 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 blah. I've said it many times before with our era of bands, So you guys were separate ways until the year 2000. And that's when Tim comes in.
At that point, like Tim had mentioned earlier, once Junkyard, we didn't break up. We just said, well, fuck it, we got to get jobs.
Right.
We got to figure out lives. So we went our separate ways. Me and Tim played in a band together. Todd and Brian actually played in a band together. And Chris had a band. We all went our separate ways.
You all went your separate ways. You got to make a living.
And we had, some of our bands were successful and some, went on to up and down. And then we all got back together basically, what was it? Was it 2000? What was it? 2003?
No, I think it was earlier. I think it was 99.
No, it was
2000.
99 or 2000.
Yeah, 2000
right?
You reformed. I'll tell you. 2000.
Yeah, you tell me. I can't fucking remember.
I'm bad with dates. I'm really bad with dates. Yeah.
But Tim comes in, right? What drew you to did you have to audition, Tim, or they just knew you? They said, Tim, listen, we're going back out. No. You're the guitarist. Let's go.
This band really doesn't do auditions and stuff. Yeah. It's kind of like you have to sort of everyone who's come through has sort of already been there. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing because I don't know how we could teach someone all that history, like all those hours in those same shitty places together for all those years.
Right.
Even when separate bands, you're doing it, and live through that experience of that explosion of Hollywood in the late 80s and the crumble of the 90s. I mean, it's all part of what makes the thing work. That we have the same language that we can go forward because we have the same history. We have a history that we all can pull from. Maybe not exactly in the same band. Even Jimmy James, who moved out here, was in Rock City Angels. So and then he bailed right before they got signed. But
Our point of reference, like, I mean, you know, even like now and even back then, like when we speak of an event, like when we're in the van traveling or whatever, everybody, we all know we were all there. Granted, we were all in 3 or 4 different bands at the time, but everybody can speak about, you know, experiences. So like Tim alluded to, we don't audition. I mean, it was, you know, Tim was there, and Tim was the most logical choice, because he was basically songwriting for us in '92. He was helping to write so much stuff. So at that point, it was like, well, Tim, yeah, you play guitar, of course.
Right.
You know?
And he was a name that I didn't know back in '92, but I can tell you, man, this guy plays the shit out of the Les Paul, bro. I mean, this guy.
Yes, he does.
I mean, I'm gonna get to that single because I told you before, it's like ear candy, but I call it an earworm. It's stuck in your ear. Like, this guy's
well, also helped, and also Brian was unavailable. There is that too. So he was.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay.
He was in Bad Religion full time by that point, so he was gone, and yeah, he joined Bad Religion, I don't know, 96, 97.
96, 97, yeah.
So this was late 99, 2000, I guess. And it kind of happened really as usual with Junkyard. There's not a lot. We plan now pretty well, but back, you know, it's not like there's a big plan.
Right.
We got a call through somebody. I don't remember how it happened, that someone had told Eddie Spaghetti from the Super Suckers that Junkyard was doing shows, which wasn't true.
Eddie Spaghetti, he sounds like he's from Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's lead singer for the band the Super Suckers.
Yo, go over there, go see Eddie Spaghetti. Tell him he owes me that 20 bucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so
with interest.
Word got through that the Super Suckers wanted Junkyard to open for them. They were doing a couple shows at the House of Blues, the old one on Sunset, and that's what really kind of got it. You know, it's like, okay,
awesome.
Well, let's do it. And then once people hear that you've done something. Yeah, it took a long time. I mean, you know, there'd be years gaps where we would maybe go do a handful of shows, or maybe none at all. You know,
well, you came out with that live album, "Shut Up, We're Trying to Practice."
Yeah, I remember we did that.
You tried to get the word out with that, right?
Yeah,
that was in 2000. That was when you guys reformed, and then
that's
in 2003 you did a bunch of older new songs.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Tried and True.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
And then you know, you got a little bit of interest, and then things started really coming together around 2008. I love the name of this last one. In 2008, put it to 10 and pull the knobs off.
Oh, right.
Because it doesn't go to 11.
Yeah.
You want to put it to 10 and pull the knobs off.
We had, you know, once word got out that we were doing stuff, guys that we knew who were from back in the day were working at independent labels still and doing that. And they got say, like, you know, do you have anything we could put out? Because they knew we had kind of a residual fan base that could be tapped into. Right. And some of the stuff had been sitting there. That live album was taped on the first album tour. So it was like the classic lineup live, and it was really well recorded. It was done at the Palace. So, you know, those things are sitting there. There's part of you is like the archivist, like, well, let's get it out. Like, there's no point in having it sitting in someone's drawer, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, and then pull the knobs off with similar stuff like that. These demos, and we didn't know at the time, but if we hadn't done it, those things start drifting out anyway, and then they're on YouTube and they're of no value.
And you're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah. So that we did those things. And then the EP that we did, someone kind of said, like, would you want to do some new songs? And so between, like, we came out and did a couple shows and took a couple days, and we had a couple older songs, and we wrote some songs, and kind of thought it'd be like to see what it was like to play, you know, to record. But I don't think we thought too seriously about that, really. I mean, we were serious about it. We wanted to write some songs.
Just wanted to get something out.
But see what it was like to actually get in the studio and make some noise, and what were we going to sound like, and and so it's a little all over the map stylistically. There's some good stuff. I mean, our hardcores think it's great, but I would look back and probably, you know, approach it a little differently now. But that's all right. It is what it is. It was what it was. So
those in 2008, that Joker and Triple X, what would you consider that?
Bootleg.
That's the third. That's bootlegs. Those were the third. That was the third.
I'm glad I asked you, because I wanted to know.
Those were bootlegs.
Those are bootlegs. What are your feelings on YouTube? I'm sorry, Tim.
In essence, I mean, there's a lot of toing and froing about that, but you know, we didn't have a lot to do with that, besides having been involved in the writing and recording of them way back when. and then they were out. I don't think we really thought too much about the long-term ramifications or something like that. Like, oh, okay, press a few, whatever, people.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, we're like, well, now it's out, and now we're having to clean up the mess because, especially David would probably say, some of these were demos. Now, granted, they were recorded very well.
Right.
They're all
Yeah.
demos. What I'm saying
They're
wasn't even.
demos.
Yeah, but they recorded very well back then because that's how they did stuff. 24 track, 2-inch tape,
Right.
like all that stuff.
Right.
That wouldn't be done
Before
that way.
Pro
So it
Tools.
is. Yeah, it was done really well, and the band was playing
Well,
well, so their sounds good. But not every single thing was supposed to come out. And then,
Right.
but it was all out. You're like, oh.
All right, good. I kind of figured that, but that's that's a good question, and I'm glad you answered that.
Yeah.
But now I got to ask you this: what are your thoughts on YouTube? You guys. Now you mentioned that stuff's being thrown out of there. Certain things you just put out because it was from 1992. What is your thoughts? And some guys say they hate it. Some guys say they can't do anything about it. Like you put out an album, and you're putting $50,000 into this album. I'm just throwing a number out, and you work your ass off for a year, and then in 3 days it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
How do you feel? You feel cheated? Do you feel robbed? Do you feel like, okay, it's exposure? What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
I think the reality is that physical and all that other stuff is becoming bespoke. It's for the hardcores, the real fans, and we do them for those. We approach records like the old men that we are. Like we make albums. That's the way we do it. I don't know how to approach things as these little bips and bobs. How they get distributed.
Product.
It's a product.
Tangible product. Yeah.
We got fucked over by major labels, and they did the model that we're supposed to like. So who the fuck knows? I mean, the model has been changing underneath our feet since we started. Originally, no one gave us any money to do anything, and that was punk.
Yeah.
And then you make your own way. So in a sense that you become, you have to find different ways to monetize what you're doing. But we write songs, we record them and put them out in a package that we feel good about. And then we turn it over to whatever business entities there are that distribute and or sell them. And then we kind of lay back and think of the old country, to be quite honest with you. We hope for the best and
expect the worst.
And hey,
expect the worst, hope for the best. Listen, I feel for you. I can tell you as a musician, I mean, listen, I'm not nowhere near you guys. I sing in a cover band. I play drums on an original band. We released the CD, and we paid for it ourselves, and it sucked. You never get that money back. I can only imagine what you guys go through. Where this is your living, and I buy no matter what it is. I buy, and I love physical CDs. I mean, I hope they never get rid of them. I love having the CD. I love looking at the liner notes. That's why they call me the king of useless information. I read all the liner notes. I read the producers. I read the guitarists. I read who played the cowbell on All the Time in the World. I love that. I love that. But but I want to tell you this, and this is where it gets spicy. 2015, you guys came out with the single "Faded," and I got to tell you, this is one of the best, if not the best, Junkyard song that you guys put out. And that's coming from a fan, coming from the heart. Whoever's listening to this interview, if you do not have anything, maybe you had Junkyard's debut album, maybe you don't have any albums, I suggest you go right there, go to the single "Faded," listen to it, and tell me that song does not stick in your head tomorrow and the next day and the next day. That is one song that you guys knocked it out of the park. I got to tell you.
It was a good one.
You knocked my earphones off. I got so excited.
Well, that was the beginning.
And that's Tim Mosher on guitar.
Yeah, I played a bit on that. Yeah.
Yeah. You, Pat, but you talk too much already. I'm telling. I gotta get. No, I'm only kidding, buddy. I'm only kidding.
Wow, go in the big one. That looks really good.
He's got a tall boy there,
It was cheaper than.
He's got a tall boy going. I know who hung out with Tom Werman.
Beer.
I know who stood next to Tom Werman during the recording of the first album.
That's the Gardner's.
I was third in line.
That's the Gardner's special.
Dude, are you kidding? I went to go buy one, and it was cheaper just to get 3 of these.
Right.
Yeah, that's how they get you. That's
so
how
go ahead, Tim. Yeah. The floor is yours. "Faded," please.
So we got approached about doing a new album, and what had happened is we had done a bunch of touring. We've been to Europe a few times, and Chris had decided, I don't want to do it. He didn't want to go out because it's pretty hard Scrabble, and Europe's tough and all that other stuff. And I think it was the end of a relatively difficult 2-week run, and maybe I think he was physically having some issues. Whatever. I don't get into people's motivations anymore.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't want to do this. I'm like, okay. And that kind of put us on hiatus for a while. And it just so happened that Brian Baker was in town a lot working on a Bad Religion record, and he would end up staying with me a lot. He'd just stay at my house instead of staying at a hotel for 2 months or 3 months. And so he was always like, when I'm around, let's do some Junkyard shows. So we started doing shows with Brian and me. So ironically, I went to now playing all Chris's parts, and I started playing Brian's parts. Chris's parts were a little easier, thankfully. And so in that kind of time frame, I'm not sure exactly when, someone said, would you guys want to do a new album? Someone approached us about doing a new album. And there was some label that had some that I'm like, okay, well,
yeah, we had interest at that point.
Yeah,
it was actual real interest, and we were like,
it
oh
was
shit.
real.
It's like, holy crap.
Yeah,
there was a
like,
piece of, there was a deal memo.
Rightfully so, guys. Rightfully so.
There was a deal memo floating about and everything, but we hadn't written any songs yet. And so we kind of just said, well, all right, let's, like, as opposed to that EP that I was talking about, like, I said, if we're going to do this, we have to really do it. Like, the level of intensity it takes to write a great song means usually write a bunch of shitty ones to get to a great one.
Yeah.
Or you have to really get in and decide what this is going to be about, or, hopefully there's a bit of magic when you write a good song. So that song, if you want to know, Baker was going out on tour, and this is how we still write. We wrote a lot of High Water this way, even though other guys contributed writing as well.
High Water is the album that came out after the single Faded.
Yeah, Faded is on High Water as well, if you want to buy the full Monty.
There you go.
And we started writing a bunch of songs, 2 or 3, which made one is the B-side of Faded, and one made it onto High Water, and then Faded made it onto High Water.
By the River.
The River's the B-side, yeah. And then Kindness of the Dead, which is on High Water, was also written in the same jag as Faded.
Right.
So Baker would send me these little notes of riffs, of ideas, and then I would sit, because I'm a television composer I write every day for a living, and I have a little small studio. And so I could construct the basics of a demo myself. And that one was just a thing that Baker had. The riff was different. It was a little more complicated, and I kind of said, let's just do that.
Base it down, real straight ahead AC/DC style riff.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, the bones were there, and then he would just happen to be in town, and we sat down and together came up with what was a chorus. And then David came down and said, I have this idea. And he basically sang it through, and I go, that sounds pretty good. And that was Faded. And we didn't know if it was really worth a shit, because we hadn't really played any of these together in a room, and we still don't do that sometimes with songs. Sometimes it's done differently, but this time we went in rehearsal room because we were going to go and record this as a separate standalone single.
Right.
And we thought it sounded pretty good. We didn't really know, honestly. I didn't think it was like, okay, excellent. I think it's good,
That's good.
And we had the label that had got us this whole thing going had fucked off. And we basically just decided, well, let's go and cut these songs. They sound pretty good. And we had a buddy who had a small label at the time, and he put it out as the single. But then that kind of really got like, well, we've got these other songs. And that kind of moved to where we signed with Acetate, which I kind of, I didn't really know much about Acetate. I was looking for a place that would be a good home for us, and I was just looking around online. Honestly, this is how our business model. And I saw, they have the Super Suckers and Rhino Bucket and the Hangman. I go, that sounds about right, So I just I emailed the label and said, hey, I'm in Junkyard. I don't know if you're familiar with us, and we're thinking about doing a new album and blah 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 blah. And the guy emailed back, was like, I've known you for 20 years. And it turns out I did know him, but, that was a long time ago. I'm a little fuzzy-wuzzy.
Right.
And he says, let's do a Junkyard album. So we ended up signing with Acetate like that. It was really a couple email exchanges. He said, what songs you got? And I sent him what we sort of had in the beginnings of what we had been writing in these sessions in my home studio. And that's how High Water came to be. So we said, okay, well, Faded's the first thing. And then it was a period of time like, well, now I got to write the fucking thing. So we had to kind of recalibrate. We did a bunch of touring around Faded and everything. And it got noticed. I think we were all kind of surprised how much people kind of went, whoa, what's that?
I'm going to tell you. The distant second to Faded is the song Cut from the Same Cloth.
Nice.
I like that one.
That's awesome. And it was that album was number 24 on hard rock album sales on Billboard. So
Yeah.
I mean, come on, people
Oh,
took
we were
notice.
thrilled.
You can't,
we
you
were-
can't,
we
you know,
were-
you know, you'd love to be number one, but 24. I'll take 24. What the fuck?
I'll take 99.
You know what I mean?
we-
If to be away for so long and putting out your stuff that you threw out, or either somebody put it out that you didn't want to put it out, you guys got together, you came up with a solid album, and you guys were on your way. And there's listen, I'm a drummer. Anything that's got cowbell, I love it, baby. I'm a drummer. I love the fucking cowbell. Come on, Pat. That's you on the cowbell. I don't even see, you know, right?
No, it's not me. It's a sample.
Ah.
I remember when we found out we were charting because had flown back to play
weird.
M3,
Right.
which we had never done, and
M3
we were in
Rock Festival.
the M3 Rock Festival a couple years ago, and we didn't know if anybody still.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
you know, we know people care, but you know, anyway. So we're on the way to the gig, like we're going from the hotel to the whatever, I forget, and I don't know, someone's driving us, and the phone rings. It's the record guy, and he says, "Hey, I just got a call from Billboard." I'm like, and he
what?
says, I think the album is gonna fucking chart. For some reason we were all in the same car at the same time when we got the phone call from the record company. And I said, "Hey guys, we're fucking gonna chart on Billboard with this fucking thing." And everyone was just like,
Hey,
so
listen.
then we go to M3 and we're like, kind of like, wow, how weird is this? And then we played the second stage there, which is that they don't do anymore, which was great. But, you know, I'm like, we're starting feeling like, you know, like, oh, all right, we're high on our haunches. And so they take us in a golf cart over there, and we're with all our friends backstage. We go to golf cart, and there's nobody at the second stage. And we're like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? And we're on in like 15 minutes, you know? And we're like, oh, fuck.
Oh,
like,
boy.
it's like how you think
Hello, Cleveland.
yeah, like you got
Yeah.
your big swinging dick's about to shrink up real fast. I remember all
I was in the pool. I was in the pool.
and actually Baker had come out to sit in and play it.
That's right,
He
yeah.
lived right around down the road, and he was going to play a couple songs with us. So he's sitting there backstage, and we were sitting on
It's like,
these
what the fuck?
and we're just kind of looking around. And then I guess the band on the main stage ended, and it was like that scene out of Braveheart. Like people just come over this hill, and all of a sudden, all of these people come streaming down, and we're like, and we can see it all.
Victory!
It was totally that. And then we're just like, oh, and then there was, I don't know, 5,000 people.
Then Tim felt good.
Yeah.
All right, baby.
And then I felt
It was
good
like,
too.
Number 24 on Billboard. We got some
Right.
fans here. I'm set. All right.
And then I remember, and then we're about to go on, and then I guess he didn't. I don't know if he was supposed to do our stage, or whatever. But Eddie Trunk comes up and is like, "Hey, love Faded, man.
Hey guys, I love that song. Faded.
Yeah,
That song
right.
Faded's great, man.
Faded's a great one, man." I'm like,
They call me
oh,
the
like,
poor. They call me the poor man's Eddie Trunk.
okay.
I just want to say the band Junkyard is really good. They're really good, those guys. And they were at the M3 Rock Festival, and telling you, man, the song "Faded" was number 24 on Billboard. Can't believe
That's
it.
great. That's really good. That is an obscure imitation to do. It's very
Yeah.
good.
Listen, I do some imitation. I interviewed Mark Fonda from Grand Funk Railroad, and I did my Homer Simpson. Did you ever see the Simpsons when they have a Grand Funk Railroad on there?
Yeah, I remember that one.
You don't know the antics of Mark Fonda? The shirtless antics of Mark Fonda? The amazing cowbell of Don Brewer?
He's over here. I'm looking. This is Mark Fonda now, and he's over here hysterical laughing. And I'm like, I can't believe it's like so surreal. I can't believe I'm interviewing you guys and these people. Just some fucking schlub from fucking Queens, New York, and doing a Homer Simpson imitation of Mark Fonda.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I sang with Johnny Gio. But anyway, I'll tell you another time. Anyway, but listen.
So High Water did great. We were thrilled and shocked, and we were very happy. Yeah.
Here's what I want to tell you, Pat and Tim. I'm 51 years old. I grew up in the 80s. We never went anywhere. That's the thing. You think, not you meaning you, I'm saying you meaning everyone, thought that we just left and we don't want to listen to the hard rock and so-called hair bands or whatever you want to call it. We never went anywhere. We were dying for it. That's why you can see now, of course, your age group might be a little bit different now, but we love to come to see you guys. Look, you knew right away, this is Blackthorn in Queens, New York. I'm kicking myself now I didn't get to see you guys. I can't believe you played Blackthorn. Nicky Camp, who was on my show, I interviewed him, friend of the show. He's going to kill me that I didn't know that Junkyard was there.
But you'll see us next year.
Yes, and
You're welcome.
Listen, you guys are family now. You're part of the Rock Shop and you're friends of the show. So I'm
Sweet.
definitely going to come without a doubt. So now, where do we go from here, guys? What are we doing? Please tell me there's going to be new music coming out. Oh, wait. I want to mention one other thing. In 2019, you came out with an old record. This was actually album number. See, I'm starting to get excited now. I start to yell, but that's the Italian in me. Anyway, in 2019, you came out with album number 3 that you recorded, right? And you released it.
Yeah, that was the third. That was the Joker and Triple X stuff. That was
right.
We needed to put a pin in it. We needed to be like, okay, this is it. It's over.
It's out there.
We need to explain. We wanted to explain. We didn't feel like we needed to. We wanted to like, here, this is it. We vomited 1992 all over the record. Here you go.
Right.
It's
Now,
done. It's over with.
Did you touch it up or you just took it and put it out?
Remastered it.
You did remaster it. Because you got that song pushed. You got the song Pushed You Too Far, which I thought was like Junkyard around 90, 91. And it had Cowbell on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, the idea was that this stuff was floating. Like I said before, all of it was out there, and we decided it was never supposed to be that way.
Right.
We said, let's all pick what we think this record should have been.
I mean,
and we picked. So we basically sent the record to all the band members and said, pick 11, and the label, and we all basically came within a song or two of picking the same 11. So it was pretty good consensus.
And I love.
And there's always going to be people say like, you didn't put on it, but this is how. Yeah, it had to be something that we would listen to or think. And this is the version we came up with.
I love the video because the video is you guys in 2019, but set in 1992.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. That was good. I like that. I like that.
Magic of video.
The magic of
video. Right. Listen, you want to see me in 92? I got hair like freaking Pat with my spandex, and I'm rocking it, baby. I'm rocking it. So where are we going from here, guys? We got new music coming out?
We do. Absolutely. We got a single coming out, and it will be. We're thinking August, but it could be September. We don't know. I mean, due to the pandemic, this was a song. This single was kind of wrapped up a year ago, and unfortunately, due to the pandemic and pressing plants, everything got pushed forward. So you can take it from here, Tim.
Well, yeah, we hoped. I mean, the plan. We're basically a year. We put a pin in a year
behind.
Everyone else did.
Yeah.
So we cut the single. I guess in the midst of the pandemic, and it's a song that we've been playing live, and it's called Lifer. So some of the hardcore fans have probably seen us. We played it live on the last year of touring. So and now we're really just waiting because we want to be able to do everything at the same time. So there's a video that we filmed a few weeks ago. That's being edited. We're really waiting for the vinyl because the vinyl plants are so backlogged that we can't.
Vinyl's big now too.
Yeah, well, that's our. So we're doing a 7-inch vinyl with a cool cover, and it's all basically ready to go. We're just trying to get it slotted in, and so that comes out, and then ostensibly we're going to move into new album mode, and because we've written, I'd say, I don't know, 80-90% of the record, and so there's a B-side with Lifer if you buy the vinyl that called "Last of a Dying Breed" as well, and that's a pretty good little rockin' number as well.
Yeah, it's good.
And then we start hopefully have a new record in 2022, but it's so hard to put we thought we'd be out running about and having a blast, and we're still kind of like trying to get up and running a bit, and we've gone a few steps forward, a few steps back, and even the touring stuff, it's all kind of still happening. But Lifer's coming out. I'm hearing end of August, but always these dates are fungible. And we have video, and then go into a new album, and then the record is, I'd say, very close to written, and it's sounding good. I think it's going to be.
It's cool. I think it's. I mean, it's honestly, it's. With Tim's songwriting, with this new stuff that we're doing is the best stuff we've done in a while. And everybody always bullshits and says like, "Oh, no."
I agree wholeheartedly. To my fans, to your fans that are going to be watching this, I am telling you. Listen, their first album is an instant classic. We all know that. Second album, I'll tell you straight out because I don't lie.
Yeah.
Okay?
Gotcha.
They picked it up when they released High Water. The single faded. If you guys want to start somewhere without going back to 89, start with High Water with Tim. That song will stick in your head. I'm telling you, it's Rock Shop approved. I always say Rock Shop approved when I really feel strongly about something. You guys hit
need a stamp.
Yes, yes. You guys hit it out of the park, and I'm really looking forward to the new stuff you guys are doing. I'm really looking forward to seeing you playing live. I can't
You
wait
got
because I've never seen you live.
You will.
And,
You
and
will.
yes, and everybody who wants to get in touch with Junkyard, they have their website, which is Junkyard Blues, JUNKYARD BLOOZE.com. I have that on my site, on all my press for the band. I have their website on there. And guys, I want to thank you for coming on. I mean, it was a blast.
Thanks for having us.
No, like I said, it was really fun.
We are coming out. Well, we'll be a few places out there. We are going to be in Hollywood on July 17th at the Viper Room, one of the first shows back in Hollywood. Huntington Beach on July 16th. Las Vegas at Count Vamped. I know a lot of people like do Vegas. July 30th, Friday, July 30th. And then we're going to Minneapolis on, what is that, August 13th?
Minneapolis is Friday, August 13th at it's Under the Canopy, and I can't remember the name of the venue. And then Saturday, August 14th, we're playing the Brower House in Chicago. Sunday, August 15th at Fatheads. It's sold out, but you might be able to scalp a ticket outside if you know somebody in American Bombshell.
So nothing on the East Coast, because I have fans all over West Coast, East Coast.
No, we're working on that. That'll be
Blackthorn is closed now, sadly, but I'm trying to
closed,
get. He's Nicky Camp is the owner. He was on my show. I did a whole show related to COVID and what it did to the live music industry.
Yeah,
he's looking to reopen. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll play near me and I'll get to see you.
Definitely.
I got a segment called This and That. I'm going to give you a couple of songs, maybe some people, and you got to pick one. Okay. And then we're done. So let's start with Tim.
Yes.
Les Paul or a Strat?
Les Paul.
I knew that one.
Bing.
All right. Pat, Faded or Hollywood?
Faded.
All right.
I hate Hollywood.
You hate Hollywood?
A million times. Nah, I'm just joking. It's one of those songs that you have to play I know it in my sleep. So.
All right, let me give this one to Tim. Cuts from the Same Cloth or Blues?
Ooh, Blues.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
And I wrote Cut from the Same Cloth. But
you know, I had some Southern rock questions, but I'm not even going to bother asking them because I'll say it anyway. All right, let me give you this one. All right, Pat, Dwayne Barron or John Purdell?
Dwayne Barron.
All right.
And he'll know why. He'll know why.
All right, guys, both of you. Junkyard 89 or Junkyard 2021?
89.
2021.
He said 89.
I said 2021.
All right, guys, listen. It's been fun. I want to thank Tim Mosher and I want to thank Pat Muzingo for coming on the show. You guys are part of the Rock Shop family now. Stay on. I want to speak to you in 1 second. All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Thanks.
I'm going to have to text. I'll text you, Pat.
Okay.
I'll text you in a second. Bye, guys.